Failure is the opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently. My friends, we have the channel back. The website is going again after the malware was finally taken off and the site repaired. Thank you for your patience. Of course, the show has been up every day on iTunes and on YouTube, as it always is, but we love emailing you every day, sending you the show along with the special trainings, the PDFs for the daily market worksheet, weekly market worksheet, trade worksheets, sharing with you all the information we have to give to you. Let's jump into these charts. What do we see going on today? Stocks mixed, bonds down, gold up a little bit, Bitcoin flat. Let's jump into things. First, always, we go to the S&P 500. And as we look at this week, we can see we're going to the second week of a green up candle. Again, moving higher throughout the week, and we have a nice size green up candle. We are in, of course, a bull market. You'll have pullbacks, and then things will go back up again until it ends. We haven't seen a crossover yet on the price percent oscillator. Sometimes it crosses earlier in the week. Remember, we never call a cross until the candle closes, and that candle won't close until Friday. There's still time. If things keep moving up, we could have a crossover. Right now, price percent oscillator is running fairly flat, heading up maybe a little bit. Derivative oscillator, negative and losing downward momentum. Go to the 2-day chart. Now, as we look at the 2-day chart, we realize we're in the first day of the latest 2-day candle. It is trying to cross over going up, has crossed through right now, but again, we don't call it until it happens. So we shall wait and see if indeed it ends the day on Wednesday with a crossover. Has not happened yet. Derivative oscillator just barely negative. Price percent oscillator trying to cross over. Go to the half-day chart. What do we see there? Up in the morning, pulling back a little in the afternoon. Now, again, the S&P up for the day, just a little bit, down for the day just a little bit, 0.13%. So as we see at the end of the day, things slacking off. Again, that price percent oscillator flat, derivative oscillator losing upward momentum. So we'll continue to watch and see how these charts develop. Now we're going to leave the S&P 500, go to the NASDAQ 100. It's the one that was up for the day, 0.55%. And we see a green open box candle that is forming with a long wick on top, little wick on the bottom, pushing through the weekly trend line. Derivative oscillator gaining downward momentum. Price percent oscillator still heading down, losing some of that downward angle, but again, still heading down at this point, pushing through, like we said, the weekly trend line. Go to the 2-day. What do we see there? That's not nearly as close to crossing over going up as the S&P. So we'll continue to keep an eye on things and see how the NASDAQ continues to develop. Derivative oscillator losing downward momentum. Price percent oscillator negative but heading up. We have a nice size green up candle that has blown through the weekly trend line. Of course, several days ago blew through the 2-day trend line, but we're not redrawing that trend line until there's a crossover. We could take it out if we wanted. Now let's look at the half-day chart. We can restructure that some for us. There we go. That's pretty decent. See what we might do about, there we are. So what do we see happening with the half-day trend line? Again, up in the morning, losing some energy in the afternoon. Price percent oscillator still heading up. Derivative oscillator losing a little bit. That's at the end of the day. So again, we look at stocks and they are trying to correct back in the up position, but again, not happening yet as far as in particular the weekly chart goes. So we'll continue to watch and see and monitor and wait for either a weekly vertical crossover going down, 2-day crosses going up. We'll just see how this shakes out. Let's go to bonds next. Bonds down 0.40% for the day. Now we had that 2-day recross on bonds. back there in February, end of January. We'll look at that when we go to 2-day in just a minute. But again, we see that we have a down week. We don't see a lower low than the prior week, but that price percent oscillator still going down. Derivative oscillator. Go to the 2-day, and of course that's where we had that crossover. That was back on the 3rd, a recross on the 3rd of February. We have a green candle, solid green candle forming, hasn't reached a lower low. That is a slowdown in the down movement, still a down candle. Price percent oscillator still tracking down a little bit. Derivative oscillator about flat. First day of this latest 2-day candle. Lastly, we go to the half day. What do we see there? We see the price percent oscillator sliding sideways. Derivative oscillator negative, losing a little downward momentum. We see down in the morning, a little further down in the afternoon. Again, not plumbing where we hit on the low back on Friday morning. It was Friday morning and afternoon, hit down, and then things sort of popped up a little bit on Monday. Now maybe reverting to the norm. We'll continue to watch and see where bonds go. Lastly, we go to gold. What's going on with gold? Gold up for the day, 0.09%. We almost have a doji here as far as the candle for this week goes so far. Price percent oscillator still heading down. Derivative oscillator losing a little bit of downward momentum. Price is still below that weekly trend line. What do we see on the 2-day? We can see where we have an up candle that's forming on that 2-day chart. Price percent oscillator heading up. Derivative oscillator negative, losing downward momentum. Don't have a crossover, so the weight of price movement still negative. I'm waiting for gold to rally. I would love to see a 2-day crossover going up. Then after that, a weekly vertical crossover to give us a chance to jump into gold. Maybe that'll happen in the not too distant future. What do we see with the half-day chart? We can see up in the morning, losing a little bit in the afternoon. It's pretty much where we are on gold. Again, some flux here in the markets. We'll wait for them to shake out and see where they end up heading right now. Interesting time in the world. Lastly, Bitcoin, it's not moved as far as our charts go for the day. 0.00. What do we see happening? Well, trying to cross over, going down on that weekly. Hasn't happened yet because we're not at the end of the week. Hopefully it'll be a more firm crossover because, again, remember, if it's a weak crossover, you have up movement the next week. It can pull it right back through fairly quickly. We want something decisive one way or the other. What do we see on the 2-day? Very slowly pulling away from the red signal line. And again, derivative oscillator negative. That 2-day is still negative, so setting up potentially for a crossover going down. Now things could change on the weekly chart. Things could change. We have a 2-day recross going up. So again, we'll just wait, see, monitor. You can see where things have sort of topped out, sliding sideways. Maybe Bitcoin is just digesting these latest up moves and is going to pop back up again, or maybe not. We'll let the charts lead us. When it happens, we'll see it. If you hadn't purchased our book, Charting Your Way to Wealth, wish you would. That's a way to support the channel. We have an autographed copy waiting for you. Follow the link in the show notes. And as a gift, we put out today at the website, chartingwealth.com, Chapter 4 of the book. And I'll go ahead and put at the end of today's video, Chapters 1, 2, and 3. So if you're interested in knowing what the book's about, well, there's the first 4 chapters for you. My friends, thanks so much for being with us. God bless. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.